Twyla.
And I'm Natalie.
And this is Twyla and Natalie,
where we get to chat with you about the joys, the pitfalls of being a grown woman.
Indeed. And every week we pose a question, usually something happening in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a discussion about it. And hopefully the discussion brings us to a little bit of a conclusion, but also rounds out the conversation in a universal way.
That's
so
right.
Today's question is, do you get in your own way? I don't know why I'm asking that like it's funny. Like,
but it is kind of funny because I think it is human nature to a degree to when you're not accomplishing a goal, big or small. It could be even finding a parking spot at Target or the mall, say.
I like that you call those goals.
No. Hey, Twyla, finding a really good parking spot is like, that's like a sport for me.
I just call that an epic quest. Because usually I quit and go home before I get there.
But it's in our nature, I think, to look for someone else to blame. And
Yeah.
so when you ask that question, it really flies in the face of that and like, oh, wait a minute. Do I get in my own way?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Which is why I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I thought about the question, we had put this up in the grid a little bit ago and have been thinking about it. And I wanted to say, no, of course I don't. I'm self-possessed and I do all of these things. And then in reality,
Mm-hmm.
I get in my own way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do I get in my own way, but I get in my way and I recognize I'm getting in my own way. In the back of my head, I'll be telling myself, girl, you are making this so much more complicated than you need to.
Uh-huh.
But I don't always seem to be able to stop myself from doing it.
Well, that there is the key, and you hit the nail on the head because I think that shows some evolution, some self-awareness when we recognize that we're doing it. I feel the same way. You know, we can't always control. It goes back to that. We can't always control what's happening around us or even to us. It's all in how we react to it.
Yeah.
And there are many times you always know, you always have that voice in your head. It's like when I used to suffer from the road rage. You know,
the road rage?
The road rage.
You don't suffer from it anymore?
I am a lot better.
Oh, good for you.
Remember, that's in part why I got my tattoo that says Live Aloha, and it's on the arm. So when I'm holding the steering wheel,
It reminds you.
I can see it. I'm calm as a cucumber most of the time.
I like that you're purposeful about those tattoos like that. I did not
very
think that
much.
hard when I put mine on.
It is the ultimate Post-it note.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't put Post-it notes on my bathroom mirror with inspirational quotes. I tattoo them onto my body.
Hey, that's okay. They'll never get lost. Never.
But there's a reminder when someone doesn't use a blinker and then cuts me off, I want to initially yell at them and use some really choice expletives and freak out.
Yeah.
But again, there's that voice that goes, all right, you don't need to react to this. And there was a time I did. And what would happen was it didn't hurt the person cutting me off at all.
No.
It hurt myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure my blood pressure went up. My heart rate went up. My flight or fight reflex kicked in and I was all jacked up and then not in the right frame of mind to do anything. That was my choice to do that.
Yeah.
I got my own way.
I still like cussing at cars when they do that, though.
Now I just try to do it in my head, and I'm even working on that.
Nah, I like cussing in the car. I do. It helps me out. Like if I'm already like tense or I'm already stressed out, I'm one of those people that a good expletive, like resets my cortisol level. So I've said it, and all of a sudden I've got like new endorphins. Like for some people, it amps them up. For me, it's just like I got it out. Thanks.
Oh, see,
I feel better.
That would be great. I would love that. But I'm the opposite. It doesn't sell me out. It will jack me up completely.
Okay, see, I'm exactly the opposite when it comes to that. But that's funny that you bring up that a car is a situation like that, like when you're driving in traffic, because those aren't the kind of instances where I think about when I think of getting in my own way.
Sure,
I tend to think about like to me, I'm always like sort of big picturing things.
Yeah.
And so I'm always wondering, like, did I make this take longer than it needed to?
You mean after the fact?
Sometimes. And then, but I also have, I'm always sort of in weird self-reflection mode.
Uh-huh.
So I sometimes think to myself, like, I'm going to approach the situation this way.
Yeah.
And then I'll get into the situation, whatever it is. And halfway through it, it starts going sideways. And when it starts going sideways, I will fully admit that sometimes I double down on stupid. and the only way to really double down on stupid is to combine stupid and stubborn. And I do that better than anybody.
Yeah, and not own it.
Yeah, and that you know, and the thing is, you know what's funny? No, sometimes I'll full on own it. I just won't do better. Like I'll I'll be really honest. It usually happens the most when I'm in a sort of a headspace that I think I know this.
Yeah, like you are right. You were right about this.
So so admittedly, you already know. That means it happens a lot with my husband.
Sure.
So and we're the same.
Yeah.
So we will both double down on the stupid and the stubborn of it. At the we are like the couple in Taming of the Shrew. Like, the sky's blue. No, it's light blue. No, it's blue. No, it's light blue. And and in my head, I'm like, girl, is this necessary?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, today it is, because that's light blue. And I'm, what?
You can't just let it go.
Yeah, like
it goes back to that picking your battles thing.
Which I'm usually decent at. Not great, but I'm decent at it.
I think you're not great at it when it comes to your husband.
Yeah.
You've gotten better. We've talked about this.
That's true. I have grown. As an adult, I have really grown.
And that's a big part, I think, of not getting in your own way is truly picking your battles and being, I have discovered such freedom in more honesty. Like when I mess something up, be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot.
It's not. See, I probably do a little too much O.J. Simpson in my life sometimes.
Oh really? See, I should probably be making more excuses for things I just don't anymore.
Now, I should explain that because most people that know me know what that means. When I say it's an O.J. Simpson, it means I've committed to the lie.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking with it until it's true to me. And then even for myself, I think it's the truth.
But
it's not.
And that, Twyla, that is where things go so wrong. When we talk about getting in our own way, that's where the train has left the station, gone off the rails, has flipped over a few times. When you commit to the lie so well, when you are being faced with black and white evidence that you just told a lie and it's not true.
Yeah.
It will only get worse. And the only person that hurts is that person. It's us as individuals when we're doing it. You might think it's so, well, I can never admit to that, or I could never own that. And sometimes it is difficult depending on the offense.
Yeah.
You got to swallow your pride a little bit, especially when we, I think, own things when it comes to our kids calling us out on something and they're right. That can be difficult.
No, they don't get to be right. They don't. You know what? I am in the middle of this now, and in 10 years I will have a different perspective. But I have two brand new, fresh, minted teenagers, and you know what they are? They're jerks sometimes. And I love these kids. They came from my body. I would take bullets for them. But when they decide that they have righteous indignation over something that's not important, I don't even care if they're right. I don't like. I just had this discussion yesterday with my son.
Yeah, well, righteous indignation is a whole nother thing.
Right, but see, that's like kind of the awful like offshoot of being right is when you become like so right that you can't be told anything else. We had a half-hour argument about like a locker and a locker combination. I don't even have a locker. I don't even care if he uses the locker. That's not the point. And we went back and forth until it occurred to me that I don't have to go back and forth with you because I'm the mom. Mm-hmm. And we went toe to toe forever. And then I just went, you know what? The locker doesn't matter. And he goes, but you need to give me a chance to explain. I go, no, actually, I don't need to give you a chance to explain. You know what I need you to do? I need you to respect me. That's it. As I use the locker, don't use the locker. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when I tell you to do something, if I tell you, and I did say this yesterday, and I will have to apologize today. It's on my to-do list. I quite literally told him, if I tell you to get up and put a green sock on every day, get up and put on that damn green sock. Because I'm your mother and I said so. And in my head, perfect example. This is me getting in my own way. Did I need to do that? No. But I got so irritated with having this argument with a 14-year-old that I was just like, I'm not arguing with you anymore. I'm going to exert force of will now.
Exactly. I'm gonna give you some really, you probably already figured this out, but great advice. And my kids, my oldest is 27, the youngest is 10. My three children are adults, and I have the two younger stepkids. Mm-hmm. And I'm so much more laid back about things like that. We'll be sitting at the breakfast table, And one of them will say something about, some fact about something, and they're just convinced of it. Maybe
Yes.
what time something starts at school. I'm like, no, honey, actually, it happens at this time at school, so you got to make sure you're there. Nope. I'd be like, oh, all right. I just let it happen. Then they come back to me and like, oh my gosh, you were so right about that. Well, I guess it was. It doesn't create. I learned this because I used to go head to head with my pig-headed daughter, who's the middle child, and I used to do that with her, and I would use that same force and no, and it's this way, and go back and forth. And years later, when she went off to college, towards the end of her college career, she came to me, and she said, there's so much you were right about. I was so wrong and so pig-headed. I said, well, I was pig-headed too, and showing you that I was right.
Mm-hmm.
But I also recognize now if I gave you a chance to figure out on your own that it wasn't right, there would have been a bit more peace in the household.
Oh, great. So now I'm just going to free range parent. So everybody out here who sees my kids acting like crazy people in the world, just know Natalie told me to let them figure it out.
Not with everything. People, you gotta use judgment.
A little common sense goes a long way.
But little things like, okay, you don't think it, even though I'm telling you and I'm showing you the school schedule that says that's a fact. You still want to argue with me? Okay,
of course.
That's all right.
Of course,
that's all right, buddy. You show up 2 hours late.
Listen,
see what happens.
my kid argued with me about the way I spell my name the other day, and I don't even. It's my name. I know it. Somebody else gave it to me. And this is what they decided. This is how they decided it should be spelled. And then it's turned into a discussion about why his name is spelled the way it is. And I said, because that's the way your grandfather does it. He goes, but that's not correct. It is for you.
It is because they say it is. And also, don't you think, Twyla, that we're talking about when you get in your own way, and when we're recognizing that when we handle it in a way with our kids specifically where we can own those mistakes that we made, we can own when we screwed up.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to teach them. That when we stay pig-headed, they're going to think they need to go out into the world and battle like that.
Yeah, no, that is the one thing you're and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it seem like you were only worried about one thing. That is not
one of the many things I'm right about, and I'm going to insist upon it.
No, that is a really important piece of this, is that as an adult, it's really important to model making mistakes and correcting mistakes for your kids. And it is one of the hardest things to do. When you are wrong, you have to be willing to say you're wrong. Yeah. It doesn't have to be in that moment, because sometimes in that moment
you can't.
You can't. And sometimes, and not just from your own pride perspective, but because there's a power dynamic at play. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to have that authority with your kids. Yeah. But there's so much growth and grace and sort of love and understanding that can come from sitting down with your kid later when everybody's calm and saying, hey, I just wanted you to know I was wrong about that today. Yeah. I needed to do this differently, or I'm sorry that I took it the wrong way. Yeah. Some other things were going on, but that's not fair to you. There's a power in apology. There's a power in giving a child the opportunity to know that you're sorry for something, and give them the opportunity to forgive that action. Yeah. That they'll carry through their whole life. You'd be amazed at how many adults don't know how to practice forgiveness or how to ask for it. Exactly. And if you model that, they'll learn it. They really and truly will learn it.
And at the same time, you create a safer space for them to come to you with something. Yes. They know you're not going to kill them right off the bat. Doesn't mean there's not going to be a consequence. I always told my kids when they were growing up, excuse me, that, if you come to me and you let me know what happened and I find out from you, it's not that there won't be a consequence, but we will work through it together. Yes. If I find out from a different source what you did, then you're going to have a serious consequence.
Listen, sidebar, that applies to the entirety of your life, not just with your children, your life. If you've done something dumb to me or in relation to me or some action you took has consequences for me, don't let me find out through a second or a third party. Yeah. Don't let me find out in a way that embarrasses or humiliates me. Just tell me. Exactly. If you don't tell me,
don't bring me on Jerry Springer for it.
Yeah, I'm not I tell my kids that all the time. I always say, listen, if you've done something, just own up to it. I might not like it, but at least you were honest. Yep. But if I find out after, now you're getting punished for the thing you did and the lie. Because the lie to me is 10 times worse. And we have that. I have that understanding with my relationship with my husband. I have that understanding with my siblings, with my friends. It's the same across the board. Just tell me.
Yeah. Then
I
you
would
can
rather
work
know.
through it. You can work through it, when we tell our kids so much, I love you. It doesn't matter what happens, whether it's a bad grade, whether it was theft, whatever it is that your kids are going through.
Right.
And we send that message of, I love you no matter what happens. I accept you. We're going to work through it. We got to give them that same, opportunity for us.
Right. Yep.
They're capable of the same grace. And it's amazing how forgiving children are. Look at extreme cases of where kids were abused in a horrific way, still love their parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone who struggles with addiction in a major way and is maybe neglectful of their kids or even abusive because of their addiction and issues. In a lot of cases, those kids still love that parent.
Yeah. But that's because kids are put on the planet exactly in the best form that they come in. I mean, they're the best human possible when they first get here, and we screw it up after. It's kind of how it works. We mess it all up. Sorry, y'all. It's just kind of how things work. Now, I do have a question for you within the question.
Sure.
When we're talking about, do you get in your own way?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get in your own way? Have you seen yourself get in your own way in terms of how you set your life goals, like your big picture goals, what you wanted to accomplish as a person?
The biggest way, I would say for me, the biggest way that I've gotten in my own way and sometimes still get in my own way that way is self-doubt.
Okay.
I'll set a goal and then I'll start thinking, oh, that's not very realistic. Oh, no one will want to pay me for that. Oh, the self-doubt there.
Mm-hmm.
No one else is stopping me from doing it. No one else is getting in my way. That is purely me, putting that out there that maybe this isn't possible. Whereas what I should be doing is hunkering down, working on it, and keeping my eye on the prize.
Huh. I totally get that. Strangely enough, I do, when I was thinking about this, I actually do that in a bit of a different way. I don't tend to have a lot of self-doubt.
That's obvious.
Yeah. As you know, I am
self-doubt is not one of your afflictions.
No. I am irrationally in love with me. It's accurate. But for a lot of
That'd
years,
be a good T-shirt, Twilight. Irrationally in love with me.
Okay, thank
I
you.
wonder if it would have to be I'm irrationally in love with me. No, just irrationally in love with myself.
Either way, it's going on a T-shirt.
That's a good one.
Don't worry, I'll cut you in. There will be a T-shirt. I'll cut you in. I tend to, for years, and I know for a fact that I can almost calculate exactly how many years I did this.
Uh-huh.
I used to have this sort of thing about myself where I knew I'd be good at the things that I would do.
Yeah.
Because I know how hard I work and I know how much effort I give to things. And only have come to realize recently that may be a function of some form of ADD that I have, that I am so sort of pinpoint specific on how I work.
Sure.
But I would purposely take myself out of the equation because I didn't want to make other people uncomfortable with me being good at things.
Sure.
So instead of being good at it and just letting everybody adjust, I would say I would really dim my light for other people. Like I don't want you to feel bad that I do better at school. I don't want you to feel bad that I'm better at speaking in public. I don't want you to feel bad that you ran this activity and I ran another activity and mine was better than yours. So I just wouldn't even do mine. I would just come help you with yours.
Yeah.
And looking back over time, I realized that was, for me, that was a big cop out. It was, you're allowed to be good at the things you're good at, and how everybody reacts to it is up to them.
Yeah. That's so true.
If people will show you who they really are. They'll either be in full support of you and think you're amazing and want to support you further, or they'll be petty, or they'll be jealous, or they'll be upset, or you'll drift apart. Those are not your decisions. You don't get to make those.
No, and you're not running around throwing it in the face of other people, that, hey, I'm better at this than you are.
No,
it's just by existence of what you're doing.
Yeah, and it does sound a little bit, I know even when I think it in my head, it sounds a little bit like, you think a lot of yourself, don't you? And to be honest, I do now, and that wasn't always the case. I didn't always think, that of myself. I didn't always think I was capable of doing things. Mm-hmm. And the more that I'm doing things, the more that I'm sort of stepping into, my full purpose in life.
Yeah.
There's a point in which you have to say, this is me. Mm-hmm. This is who I'm going to be. And this is the path I'm choosing to be on.
Yeah.
And not everybody always gets to take that ride with you.
No, and you are very right what you said about you find out who your friends are that way.
Yeah, you really do. You find out who gets it and who doesn't.
Yeah, if somebody is ever unhappy about your success or making what are obvious passive-aggressive comments or whatever it is, taking issue with or attacking, whether it's a good relationship you have or a job, success with your kids, physically for you, whatever it is, those are not your friends. That's what they call toxic personalities.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, sometimes I think sometimes it's hard for other people to put you in a new context. And that's a huge, for me, the idea of getting my own way is sometimes remembering that the context that you know me in is not all there is to me.
Yeah, and because you've maybe made a change and someone else didn't make that change, it doesn't make them any less.
Right.
You know, that's kind of the thing. I've run into that since I stopped drinking. I don't think everybody should stop drinking. I think people should drink within their healthy limits.
Yeah, but you're not determining what that is, right?
Well, the American Heart Association determines what it is. I might share it and tell you.
Fair point.
But I'm not saying, hey, you should stop drinking as well. That the way I'm doing it is right. You know, it's fine. Come over to my house and have a drink. I'm totally good with that. You know, be responsible about it. Same way in that, Twyla, you're a vegan. I don't feel threatened because you're a vegan. I don't doubt my love of meat, and God, do I love meat?
Yeah, and I don't give you crap because of it. But
exactly.
I think that's you're exactly right. That comes down to sort of people showing you who they are. Genuine people, and not even people that are your friends necessarily, but genuine people will want good things for you because it doesn't hurt them for you to succeed.
No, not at all. And I think when you're confident in who you are and your own, just how you handle things, how you do things, how you take care of things, what your accomplishments are, you aren't threatened by what someone else is doing. If they're doing better, worse, you know, or otherwise.
Well, and you know, I think at least for me personally, one of the biggest sort of breakthroughs I've had in the last few years is understanding that I needed to be doing, and I needed to put myself in a position to do everything that I was intended to do. Like, you get one body and one life and one opportunity in this space, this way, to have an impact in whatever way you want.
Eminem said, "This opportunity comes once in a lifetime."
And I'm earmarking
in the music, the moment,
and I'm earmarking the 21-minute mark of this episode where Natalie first and only raps on our show. Someone tells me it's not the only time I'm going to hear it, but this was the first official.
Well, what you were saying totally reminded me of that Eminem lyric.
Yeah,
it's so fitting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that the idea of, you know, I said I almost felt guilty about it after I really got into this, is that this wasn't just supposed to be about me. But figuring out what my purpose is kind of helped open like a conduit for other people. Like,
it involves other people.
Yeah. Well, and now I get it. I was supposed to be doing something that allowed for other people, that allowed for it to be bigger than me, that this isn't just self-aggrandizing, that it's actually purposeful and it has impact that could be much bigger than me. And I can be proud of that. And it doesn't have to take away from anybody that I love or care about. It doesn't have to take away from anything that I've been associated with before. It doesn't have to put down anything else that I've ever been a part of before.
No, it's your evolution.
Yeah, right. You can grow as a person. And once you figure that out and you can really and truly get out of your own way, what happens is the universe just kind of expands for you. Like, it creates space and capacity where you never thought it was possible. I mean, the stuff that's happened to me in the last 6 months alone, I would have never been able to dream. Like, ever. I would have never been able, even my wildest imagination of what kind of life I could live didn't look like what this looks like now. And the scariest and best part is that changes every single day.
So really, your being able to accomplish and go after these goals started happening when you decided to get out of your own way.
Yeah, when I decided it's okay for me to have or be or do the things that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like that. And I've talked about this on a previous podcast, of the idea that you can have sort of this idea of yourself, and you can have this, you know, ability to do these things, and it's okay to be good at them, and it's okay to embrace them, and you don't have to, you know, feel embarrassed about it. You don't have to feel like you shouldn't enjoy it. Like, so the idea that I've never had a job that I enjoyed until now, that I always thought it was bunk when people said, do what you love. I get it now. I totally get that that's not baloney. Yeah, I get it. But none of that would have happened until the day I said, I'm allowed to have these things. You know, so for me, truly getting out of my own way was just saying, hey, you might as well be the one to do it. You're allowed to do it. Yeah. The only person telling you no is you.
That's right. Maybe that's the thing when it comes to getting out of your own way. The first step is recognizing when you're doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's across the boards. And, you know, I thought about this recently during one of my deep thoughts while I was sitting by the lake, reflecting, Drinking my jasmine tea, watching the dog frolic in the yard.
I wish I could just see the hand signals that are going with it. Well, she's having a full reminiscing moment at the moment.
But I realized I was thinking about different situations throughout my life and where I've struggled or where I've had conflict, where I've had issues, where I've had to overcome certain things. There wasn't one of them that I didn't have something to do with it.
Oh.
Even if it was, it was on a small, minute level or on a very large level. I had something to do with it. Again, I'm not saying I'm responsible for what other people do or how they might choose to act. But I can either fuel that fire, or I can decide to take it in a different direction or just not play at all.
Oh. No, I got some more growing to do. It's always everybody else's fault. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. I'm usually like, I'm just a victim here. I'm put upon and I've put up with your nonsense long enough.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. That's I think and I kind of almost as an experiment dared myself to be more honest about certain things.
Yeah.
And when I would drop the ball on things, which I have to admit is not often.
Well, because I'm not the only person who thinks they're irrationally the best around.
That's right. I also am irrationally in love with myself. But it's so freeing. I had a girlfriend, and I'm talking about little things too. I had a girlfriend. She reached out to me, texted or called me 3 times, and I kept saying I'll get back to you, and I didn't. And then she finally sent me a message like, "Are you okay?" Now I'm getting worried. It's been 3 times. And I called her immediately in that moment. I'm like, girl, I don't know what else to say except that I just kept forgetting. And I apologize. I apologize because I did not make it a priority, and it should have been because you reached out to me a few times. I was lost in my own, whatever I had going on. Thank you. And I told her, I really appreciate that you kept reaching out and that you did, call me out on it too. It takes seconds to send a text. Hey, I'm tied up with work, but I'll call you after 4. For me, I learned I need to set myself reminders for stuff like that.
Right.
Because I'm the worst too when it comes to especially voicemail. My voicemail says, if you want to reach me, text me. So I can go back and look at it and revisit that. And I realize on my phone, it's so easy with the iPhone. You just hit the button and say, remind me at 3:00 to do this. And it just sets it.
Yeah.
And I started using that more because I realized that's where I was falling down, was on that circling back on these little things. I'm really good at the big things. The things that I was prioritizing as majorly important. But things like that too, I'm like, okay, my hard drive in my head is full, so I need another tool. So I use that all the time now.
But I love that. I love that you. There's a thing that happens that I notice, especially when we're talking about stuff like this, that you are so cognizant of, is the idea that those little things matter a lot. Like you're super conscious of the little in between moments of our lives that connect the bigger things. Mm-hmm. And because you're so conscious of it, it helps strengthen those bigger things so that they're not as difficult to deal with.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to forget about relationships, not just romantic, but your friendships as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
With your core group. And this was a friend who I have leaned on, and I leaned on her after this happened. Mm-hmm. It's important. She should be a priority in my life. She's somebody I depend on. I need to be there as well.
Well, I do like that. I do, because it's not something that's natural to me. I was a kid who moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So I tend to be if I'm not careful, I tend to be an out of sight, out of mind person. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you, because I feel like in my head, in my life, it's just as fierce. My affection for you is just as fierce as if I was in front of you.
Yeah.
But you might not know that because I'm not in front of you to tell you that.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference in love languages too. It's how we communicate, what our love languages. Did you ever read that book, The 5 Different Love Languages?
I did.
I read the abridged online version, just the Cliff Notes. But I found it fascinating because, it applies not just with our romantic relationships, but family and friends as well. And it's so important to recognize you might think you're sending all the right love signals out and communicating to someone how you care about them. But if that's not their love language, that's not how they communicate love.
Then
they're
useless.
Not getting it.
Yeah, that's useless. And that's funny because it's funny that you brought up that particular book, because I think a lot of what I needed when I was first sort of taking steps to get out of my own way was reinforcement that it's okay for me to do those things. And I took the reinforcement in the way that I'm used to receiving affection. So if I wasn't getting that kind of reinforcement in the way that I was used to, it was that dissonance of like, is this working? Is it, am I doing the right thing? And it kind of helped and hindered the process. It helped when I did get the reinforcement. It hindered the process because then it made me sort of take 2 steps back and go, okay, do I really want to do this? Is this really what I want to do? And then having to like learn how to sort of tune out the stuff that was negative to me so that I could kind of keep moving forward. Yeah. But that was definitely sort of a way that I, at least in gaining the confidence to do it, was how I absorbed whether it was working for me or not. And to the people who loves me, to their credit, a lot of the people I love were just like, oh, I believe, I really believe in what you're doing. I believe that you can do this. This is going to be great. Like the kind of stuff I needed to hear to go, I am on the right track. I got a lot of that early on, and that just spurred me on. Yeah. So I did appreciate it.
Yeah, and you got out of your way.
Yeah, I did. And now we're doing this. So it works out beautifully. So I suppose we should ask ourselves, usually at the end of this discussion, we kind of circle back around the island and we ask again, do you get in your own way?
And I do at times. I'm getting a lot better at it. But like I said, I think the key is recognizing when I'm doing it, owning it, and getting beyond it, getting out of the way, whether it's swallowing my pride about something or knowing that I can get something done or I can accomplish something, not listening to that negative little voice, stomping it out.
Absolutely. Well, I guess my answer is no, I don't get out of in my own way anymore, except for in regards to my children, in which case...
Or your husband.
Yeah, or my husband.
If he disagrees with you on where to put dishes.
So in other words, if you live in the house that I live in, just do what I say and life will be great. And then none of us will be in each other's way. Or at least you won't be getting on my nerves while you're doing it. So, as always, we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think. Go to the Matriarch Facebook page. It's at Matriarch Digital Media on Facebook. Like the page if you haven't already. And send us a message. There's a lovely little send message tab in there. Hit that button and send us a message. Let us know what you think. You can also go check out the website. So go to matriarchdm.com. The website is there. You can listen to previous episodes. You can find out more about us. And you can even check out our blog and all of the other fun things that are available. We love doing this. So if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't get to do it. So thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.